B.PHL Facebook page, our Twitter page, but we're also going to Switchboard Live's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rudy's personal LinkedIn channel, all from this one stream, which is super amazing. So thank you, Rudy, for being on today.
No, thank you for having us. Thank you for having me, rather. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, this is great. So can you explain to people what Switchboard Live is and what you guys do?
Sure. So Switchboard Cloud is our platform, right? That we built that makes it really easy for what you just said, to be able to take one single live stream and publish it in such an easy manner that you would do like social media, right? So we're doing the same thing for live video. So being able to publish your Facebook page, your YouTube channel, your Twitter, your Twitch, your website, like really think one in, multi out. That's our goal, to really make it super easy for non-technical folks to be able to publish to all their social destinations.
That's so awesome. And it's so cool because a lot of places, like you said, they go to one spot and you're missing other audiences. So that's so amazing that you can spread all that wealth out there and you know, hit everyone, whether you know, their platform of their choice. So that's super cool.
The cool thing about that is it allows you to, you know, like if you have brands or sponsors or influencers, right? So being able to just expand your reach. So just like you said, hey, we're going to go to IVX, we're going to go to B.PHL's, you know, platforms, but it's also cool to go to Switchboard. It's also cool to go to other destinations as well. So when you really think about how do you get more viewers on your content, bring more people in, get their audience involved as well.
No, definitely. So where did this idea come from for Switchboard?
So I've been in streaming for like close to 15, probably 16 years now, a long time, right? Back when we had like the 320 by 240, like small little video windows, you know, Windows Media. I don't know if you know about that. And just kind of in my journey in this kind of streaming space, always wondering like, why is it challenging, or why do you have to pick one platform, right? Yes, I'm doing this live event or I'm doing whatever it is, but there's all these great audiences, right? How can I really maximize my viewer, get more discoverability, but then also put my content in all the different places that people are expecting and actually watching content? And so, you know, years ago, you know, back in like 2014, that's kind of like when this idea really sparked. Actually, 2013, where one of our clients back then, they had a need to go to their athletic website as well as their school website. And conference website. And it's like, we don't have the staff, we don't have the hardware. How can I do that? Right. And I'm like, well, I think there's a way to do that. And that was it, right? That was the itch that, you know, that I had. And, you know, went home and kind of figured out this platform, you know, no interface, nothing, right? Came back and said, hey, would this work for you? And here we are, right? So that's, you know, fast forward, we work with like awesome brands, awesome companies. We have, you know, a great lineup of customers. And really what it boils down to is people are now really embracing live video and making it a part of their full marketing strategy. And it's just amazing to really see how people are leveraging, you know, what we built. Really, that was solving a technical problem, but where we started seeing more inbound is now taking it from a marketing perspective, right? Treating live video just as you would with any type of email campaign. It's just a live campaign as well.
Yeah, no, and it's so funny that you mentioned that video is going, you know, boosting so much, because I read a statistic that said 80% of the content viewed online by 2020, where we are now, will be video of some kind, whether it's live streamed or just video as a whole. So it's so important to be able to have that easy, you know, ability to get your content out there, like you said.
And that's even higher. People like tune in, you know, it's interesting when you start looking at the facts, just the average watch time, everything's a lot higher. And, you know, when people think about live video, they think about like this, right? Where I have to put on a set, or I have to have, you know, tremendous hardware. You can actually pre-stream stuff, like meaning I can set up an event, or I can produce, you know, a show, but use live as the medium to actually stream it, so that people get their dings and their notifications that, hey, you know, you're live, they're going to tune in and watch it. And so like, that's part of like where we think there's a ton of education that needs to happen, so people can understand how to really incorporate it, because it's pluses and minuses to just doing a live event, you know, and the whole.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's a great segue into the next question. So you and I were talking a few weeks ago, and we were saying, I always tell people every company has to be a media company as well. And I say that I've been saying it for like 5 years now. So why do you think it's so important for companies, no matter what size you are, to have that mentality of like, I have to be a media company as well?
I think the biggest thing is, people are consuming content, on all different platforms. And people, if you just look at traditional television, what is that anymore, right? And so
Yeah.
now you, as a small business, an individual, a subject matter expert, you have to understand and assume that these are all, like our phones, right? Like people are looking at content everywhere, right? And so it's in your best interest to put the content where people are already watching it, right? And so when you start thinking about that approach, like think Red Bull, right? Like some people think about Red Bull as an energy drink, like they're a media company, right? Think
Yeah.
about all the content that they produce and different types of, they have their own OTT platform. And so you can take that same mindset and bring it back in to you, right? As a company or small business, and really, that's the new norm, in my opinion, with regards to it. You have to create your brand, keep it on point, and really incorporate live video. And this, like back to what I said earlier, same like as an email campaign, like it should augment all your marketing initiatives. It shouldn't be like how it used to be an afterthought. Oh, we're gonna do this event. Oh, maybe we should live stream it. Yeah, let's do that. And then you get upset when only like 7 or 8 people tune in, right? It
Yeah.
should be, promotion ahead of time. You need to, email. You need to talk about it. It's just like everything else. It should be fully and baked into your marketing strategies for any type of initiative, in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree. My manager, Michelle Histon, who's also a host on this series, makes fun of me all the time because every time we do an ideation session, I'm like, video. Like it's like the
Yes.
first thing I go to. And it's not because it's near and dear to my heart, but I also think it's super important. Like you said, you
Think about these new platforms, man. Like
yeah,
people, this is it, right? They're just scrolling, catch it, watch. You
yep,
got 15 seconds or 60 seconds,
yeah,
right? People are looking at content. And so if you want to be a part of that, you have to be engaging, you have to
yeah.
catch their attention. And again, that's what they're looking for. And so you have to be a part of that.
And that's actually great because I was going to ask the question. So, for people who are watching now, whether they're a business or they're talking about their personal brand, like what is some advice you would give to people when they're trying to figure out, like, how can I live stream? How can I do these videos? But they don't really know where to start.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a challenge that we get asked a ton, right? Because
Yeah,
live streaming is such a big, sandbox, right? So you have hardware, you have encoders, you have software, you have platforms, you have seating, you have all these different acronyms and terms that you're right, a lot of people don't know. And so for us, we fit in like one link in that live streaming supply chain.
yeah,
The one thing I would say, and this is probably a good blog post that we probably should write, is we probably should create that that blueprint or that white paper to really help you get started, right?
yeah,
But I would say with anything, you have to start. So maybe the first thing is I'm going to sit back and just like you guys have this, B.PHL Fest, kind of series. You put some thought behind that, right? Figure
yeah,
out what you want that strategy to be, and then honestly, and it sounds counterintuitive, pick one platform, right?
yeah,
Understand that process. Understand what it takes to stream to Facebook or YouTube. Do that first to get your feet wet and understand the process. Then that's when Switchboard can help you, right? Really, you're ready to like pour a little bit of gasoline on that fire to expand it and get those basic concepts down. But it could be just as easy as going live on Instagram, just to understand the interaction, to make sure I look okay on camera. I'm not concerned or scared. Like these are all the things that people, probably are, apprehensive about even starting. So you got to start and you got to do it. And then once you start, you got to keep on doing it. There
mhm,
has to be a consistent cadence, right? So that you don't stream, 1 month and then it's 5 months later you're going to do it again because that audience, they're not there. So in order to build an audience, because it's not going to happen overnight, have to have some consistent cadence. So yeah, I think we'll write a blog post, at least put some of these thoughts on paper to kind of
yeah.
maybe we can link out and so forth. But yeah, you got to start and you got to pick one and go all in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I tell the same people, I do a lot of video work and they'll say, how did you get to do this? Or how did you think of that? I'm like, just do it. Like if you
Yeah,
just do it,
you
that's
got
the
to
best
do
way
it.
to learn, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I feel like people get really they're scared of video. If they haven't done video, like whether it's recording it or whether it's live streaming, like this camera for some reason freaks people out a little
It
bit,
does.
and they don't know what to do. I'm like, first off, just be yourself. Like just try it and be yourself and figure out the plan. You know what I mean? And the more the better plan you have
Yeah.
going into it, then you can build off of that. But like you
Yeah.
said, try that platform and just go for it. Just see
Go
how it
for
goes.
it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And one of the things is like I've been thinking about like practicing what we preach. We're so like trying to build the best product and add
Yeah.
features and grow revenue. Like, so we're even internally like, how can we do a better job at that? Right. And we've, we're bad stewards in some cases, but trust me, we're definitely looking at that, and we have all ideas. And honestly, I just think kind of like this, the frame of where the world's at, and like live videos now just taking a little step up, right? So people are much more, open, and they are digesting video, and so now this would be a great time to be a part of it, right? You have to be a part of this movement, and figure out what feels comfortable for you, and then continue to do that.
And I wouldn't even say, I think you're being modest and saying a little step up. I
Yeah.
think that it has exploded. I mean, you're
True.
you're seeing bands now
True.
live stream their content weekly. I'm pretty sure um yeah, I mean my wife watched a whole concert like
Oh,
virtually. That would
you're
never
a-
happen before.
you're absolutely correct. It's interesting because like one of the partners we work with, they top rank boxing. They actually started doing stuff with regards to live video, and they were like one of the first like major sports to actually have live content. So they have like this really really like regimented process to get people to have these events. But the way they're thinking about it is like, how can we, we have these events, and how can we have this match, but how can we bring in audiences? How do we figure out ways where I could be a part of the next broadcast that's seen on ESPN, right? Because
Yeah.
a sporting event is great, to watch it, but audience is also something that you need there. And so they're thinking of creative ways to make that happen, and it's really really cool just to see that shift. And you're right, it has exploded, and we've seen a ton of inbound. We've had to change things, fix things, things broke,
Yeah.
because we weren't ready for this. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great time to be in the space for sure.
And that's what I was going to say. My next point was going to be, I'm sure over the last 4+ months, you guys have exploded, like you said, because there's such a need for it where people didn't really think about it before. You're like, oh no, we need to incorporate this into everything that we do. So what have you seen from the businesses that are coming to you? And what are the needs, I guess, that you've seen, and how is that going to shift moving towards the future?
Yeah, I think so. Initially, there was a major onslaught of folks trying to think about it as a business continuity purpose,
Mhm.
right? Hey, I used to have these one-on-one conversations. How can I now take that where I'm in my house and have, whether I'm a real estate agent, I'm a yoga instructor, I'm a health and mental wellness person, right? And so we would get a lot of those inbounds where like thinking that we do that as well. And so what you're starting to see and starting to shift, people now that they're getting educated, is they're understanding that, difference between webinars and like real-time communications, but then also streaming, right? So it's this, you're starting to see this kind of bleed and crossover similar to what we're doing. We're using Zoom, but
Yeah.
this is our platform. This is our fireside chat. Like if we were sitting, in your office or your studio rather, and we're streaming out, we're just using Zoom for that same medium, right?
Yeah.
But now what we're starting to see is that people who are starting to make it over that hump, they're really, really thinking about how do I incorporate it into my long-term goal, right? So think about, churches, right? Where that was in the very, very beginning, you know, immediate we got an influx of those is like we can no longer have people in the same area. So how do we still serve our congregation? How do we still serve our worshipers without, having that, that ability to from a distance standpoint, right? And so just taking that and now seeing that some states have started to open up, they're still going to do it because there are people who aren't available to go to certain events or who aren't available to attend, right? And so it's pretty interesting to see now that folks are able to reach people that probably haven't attended in a long period of time, right? Long lost relatives, right? It's all these awesome stories are coming in where they're now thinking about, hey, live is really opening, the door and allowing us to cross, state and country lines, right? And yeah, I'm super bullish on it, and I think it's going to really, be awesome just to see a year from now the new normal of how live is a part of your normal business strategy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's funny that you mentioned webinar versus live stream, because I remember a year ago, even 6 months ago, having that conversation with people. They're like, well, what's the difference? I'm like, there's a difference. There's a difference between the two.
Distinct, yes, yeah,
Yes.
distinct difference. And so yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, right? Is being able to, how can you have like collaboration in a webinar, right? And then still be able to, use your social platforms to bring people in. Hey, we're having this conversation, but now, we're alerting and we are notifying and we are informing other people that this weekly webinar series is going on. And now the next one, you may get more because now they're more in tune, right? And so these are like little tidbits and nuggets of ways to incorporate live video into your, everyday strategy, in my opinion.
And I think what's additionally great is that for the live video, like we're doing this live, people can watch live, but
Right.
this lives on. You know what I mean? Like this stays on the
Exactly.
platform, because especially for our series, we get so many more views as the hours go on through the
Hmm.
day, and then in the following day we get people that are commenting, and then I'm responding to the comments. Like it happens throughout the time. Like just because we're doing this now doesn't mean it's done once it's over. It
Exactly.
goes on,
Yep.
which is great.
Totally agree. Yeah. YouTube is the second largest search engine, right?
Yeah.
So like some people say, I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm like, well, you know what? Even if you don't have a channel and you're streaming to one of your other social destinations, that should 100% be a part of your strategy.
Yep.
The reason being is when people are searching and you put in good quality, metadata, title, description, and tags, there's an opportunity for your content to show up as a search option, right? And so why not? You have archive, you have on demand, like you're absolutely right. It's yeah, I could go on and on and
Yeah.
talk about it, but it's like these are like little things that should just be a part of the whole strategy from the beginning.
No, definitely. So again. I feel like we're just transitioning so easily into the things I want to talk about next. So I'm going to
I,
read this because I want to get the title right. So I was on your website and I saw this really interesting blog
okay.
called "7 Interesting Ways Live Streaming is Going to Change Education Forever." And I thought that was really interesting because my wife's a teacher and she's been teaching at home for the last four however months. They just ended last week. So and that what's even cooler, I think, about that is that you published that article right before the pandemic happened. It was in December that
Yep.
that
Yeah,
blog
we
was
must
published.
we must saw it coming, unfortunately.
Exactly. I saw it, I was like, oh my God, how serendipitous was that? So can you talk a little bit about how schools and teachers can utilize live streaming, especially if they're potentially, it looks like they could be home in the fall again as well?
Yeah. I mean, when I look back, and even my son, right, when he was having his first like Zoom,
Yeah,
check-in with his class, right? So that was interesting, and I was super excited just to hear him say that, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
he hears me on Zoom all the time talking, having these conversations, but just realizing how difficult it is, and those check-ins are very, very important, for kids on a daily, weekly basis to have that engagement, to have that interaction with classmates, with students, with teachers, with assistants, and so forth. Live is it's live video with a one way is obviously I'm teaching and I'm broadcasting it out, right? So that's a mechanism to deliver content. But this right here, I think, is instrumental in just childhood development, right? And being able to have this interaction, to have this engagement, to have two, four, six, children a part of a lesson plan or an experiment, and being able to prepare our youth for how they're going to conduct business in the future, right?
True.
This is like when you really, really, really boil it down and think about it, right? They're getting a crash course, good or bad now on, the next 10, 20 years of what the expectation is going to be, right? Thinking about taking those online classes, in college, like now that's going to become much, much more of the thing, right? And then being able to have this interaction with regards to whiteboards and graphs and presentations. So when I look at it, and a part of the thing we were trying to articulate is it's going to really have a tremendous impact and the need for this and the simplicity, right? That's the other thing. It has to be simple, right? It has to be simple where kids and faculty who, they're great at what they do, they're not necessarily technologists, right? And so I'm really excited to see, where and how it's going to really shape just the education system as a whole, from K through, I don't know, med
College.
school. Right, like that's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting. Like, do you go to med school? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't even thought about that yet, right? So it's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
No, definitely. And I mean, so many jobs are going to be remote after this because they're seeing that you
Sure.
can work from home. So, like you said, it's preparing them not only for meetings with people, but like for work. Like they're essentially their jobs could be like this, when
Yeah.
they're entering the workforce. So
Yeah, just make sure you get up every hour, right? You got to stand up, stretch the
yeah,
legs, because it gets tiring sitting,
it's true.
nonstop, 100%. Yeah.
It's
So
true. Definitely. So as you see events, in the future, hopefully we're going to go back to
sure.
a normal where we can go out, and interact with people. How do you see the live, whether they're events or they're things that would be on traditional TV? How do you see that happening in conjunction with live streaming and making that perfect marriage as things open up?
Got it. I definitely think there's going to be a marriage. I think the conjunction is definitely what you're going to see more of, and in ways that, to me, I think, just from back to my earlier point about a marketing campaign,
Yeah.
as you lead up to different big events, right, where there are going to be in person, you can do these speaker series, participant series, sponsor series, build these content strategy campaigns that really help to promote versus your standard promotional flyers or what have you, or commercials. But now you can have these engaging live events that are leading up to the final event that you can have in person, right? And then
Yeah.
when you are at that event, there's behind the scenes, there's different types of like green room cameras, there's different ways where you can really give a different perspective for people who can't attend, right? And one of the things we used to always hear is that, you know live video will cannibalize my in-person event, like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember the stat. I was at some conference about a year or so ago, and Eventbrite was actually there, and they were speaking about this, and they said it. In fact,
Yeah.
there was like a 40% increase, because what you're doing is you are marketing an event for people who may not have been able to attend, and now it's on their radar. Right now, they can pre-purchase tickets for next year's event. Like, you can leverage these live events to really increase your exposure and discoverability for your in-person events. And yes, you can still have those, and it's more of a positive versus it being a detriment or a negative.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I even think past that, like going past, obviously it spreads your reach to wherever, around the world.
Yeah.
Um, there's also those little, like you said, those intimate things. And I think when people are thinking about live streaming, I think they think of what we're doing right now. We're on our
Right.
laptops, we're streaming and we're talking like this. But there's so many other elements that you can use where you're talking about. There's multiple cameras in places that are feeding into a hub that you're streaming out to.
Right.
Um, and giving people those different accesses, even if they're physically at the event, you can watch on your phone. There's an alert that goes and you can see where this person is. It's behind the scenes. They're
Right.
talking live. Like there's so many ways you can incorporate it. And I think that as like now, since we were quote unquote forced into this virtual world, I think there's going to
New
be
normal.
new normal. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be so many cool ways, I think, and innovative ways that people are going to figure out how to utilize this, not only for the live events, but for, our conversation like we're doing right now as well.
Yeah,
Um,
because if at the end of the day, right, I say, for a successful live event, you need two things. One, you need viewers, right? So you need to have that, and with anything that's live, that's in, whether it's in person or not, is the ability to have an engagement, right? And so the more that you think about the types of initiatives that include that, like, the better off you are. And having different access, having different vantage points behind the scenes, real unique call to actions, right? Being
yeah,
able to show someone, hey, here's the first 10 minutes of this event, right?
yeah,
Stream it everywhere. Hey, you want
yeah,
to see more in our description? Click here, buy, download, sign up, right? And
yeah,
you have attribution. You can know that someone watched this 10-minute preview of our conference on Facebook, and now they've signed up, right? So like
Yeah,
these are ways where, it doesn't just become a afterthought, but it's a part of the full strategy from a marketing perspective, that like I'm just super excited to learn and be a part of. And we take that feedback and we figure out ways, how can we make it even simpler? How can I send Dan an email that says, hey, Rudy wants to stream on your page, and you just say yes. And then when I go live, you go live, right? Those are
yeah,
the types of things that we think about that can make it really, bring the technical barriers down and make it really easy for you to embrace, live video as a delivery medium rather.
definitely. No, that's absolutely amazing. So transitioning away from the video, um,
Sure.
real quick, because we only have a few minutes left. So,
Okay.
what are you so excited about? What are you most excited about to do once the hopefully there's a vaccine and the pandemic's over, we can go out into the world. What are you most excited to do?
That's actually a good question. I would say I think I just achieved one of that was getting a haircut. I
Yeah,
wasn't even get a haircut on Saturday. Like I was super excited. Like I had it in my calendar. I blocked it out. Right. Like that was like the first thing. It was like I got to get rid of this. Like from Father's Day to now, like totally different person. I lost 10 years in age. Right. So that was the one thing I was super excited about.
yeah,
But honestly, going to the movies, right? Like just
yeah,
being able to go to like a big screen and enjoy that. I love movies and so forth. Being able to obviously go to a restaurant, I think would be pretty cool, to do sit down, have a dining experience with the family and so forth.
yeah,
Granted, yes, we had a ton of, in-house dinner and game nights and Monopoly, battles and so forth. But yeah, I think just back to some of the simpler things, just being able to sit down and have a cool, nice dinner with the family or the wife or what have you.
yeah. No, definitely. I totally agree with that. Um, we took my 2-year-old out of our neighborhood for the first time in like 3 months last week, and
Wow.
I didn't even think about it because she's always going out, different places, but she can't now, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to just do that. Like, just take
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
somewhere.
See, it's
Yeah,
like you don't really. I think I'm gonna say like bad, but like you really start to appreciate the smaller things and the little things that you took for granted, right? And now, I think some of the positives, obviously, with what has happened, the last couple of months of just being in the quarantine,
yeah,
now you can really reflect and look back, just like you're saying now. I'm sure that that walk with your daughter, or taking her to a different location, maybe even going to the beach at some point, if that's possible, right?
yeah,
That you're gonna really, really just like soak in the rays and soak it in, So
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I think for us and me specifically, it's been a tremendous reflection point just to really be appreciative of health, of being able to spend time with family, and then be able to engage, right? So think about all the, the folks that have used live to help them from a check-in standpoint, having happy hours and mixers and cocktails with their friends remotely, right? Like I didn't even know that was a thing until a couple friends said like, "Hey, let's have a happy hour via Zoom." I'm like, "What?"
yeah,
Like, yeah, but that's possible, man. Like that was a way to still be able to check in with remote friends and family, as well. But now the good thing is to be able to do that in person too, right?
yeah. No, definitely. Well, thank you so much for doing this today. We really appreciate it. It was so cool to see the other side of it. We've talked to businesses and what they're doing to
Sure.
live stream and get out there, but it's so cool to see how from your side, like the streaming platform and how you're utilizing it and how you're seeing it grow for the future. So I know that people definitely learned a lot. I'm hopefully people will feel more confident about doing this, and they'll definitely everyone check out Switchboard Live. It's so cool, based right in Philly. It's super amazing platform. And thank you, Rudy, for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for you. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking soon, man. Take care.
Awesome. All right. See you, everybody.
All right, buddy. Bye.